A tire wash best management practice is usually located at a stabilized construction access point and is designed to remove sediment from tires and undercarriages and to prevent tracking of sediment onto the roadway. In order to prevent the release of pollutants from the tire wash, wash water is conveyed to a sediment trap or basin. A tire wash BMP is implemented on a project-by-project basis with other BMPs when determined necessary and feasible by the resident engineer. The design of this BMP must account for the anticipated traffic load at the construction site. It must incorporate a wash rack on a pad of coarse aggregate, a supply of water, a turnout or double-wide exit to avoid having entering vehicles driving through the wash area, and a drainage ditch of sufficient grade, width, and depth to convey the runoff from the wash area to a sediment trapping device. Although site conditions dictate design, the tire wash area should be constructed on level ground. Excavate the area as directed by the resident engineer. Then make sure the area is cleared of all trash and debris. Since a temporary geotextile fabric is used to prevent underlying soil from migrating into the void space of the rock, ensure that the ground surface is free of sharp objects that may damage or tear the fabric before placing the geotextile fabric liner. Spread the coarse aggregate over the geotextile fabric liner. Caltrans requires that the coarse aggregate be approximately 3 to 6 inches in diameter. The selection of rock size should be based upon longevity, required performance, and site conditions. Use of a prefabricated steel plate with ribs is only allowed with written approval by the resident engineer. When installing the tire wash, ensure that a drainage ditch is also constructed. The drainage ditch must be designed to convey runoff from the wash area to a sediment control device. The sediment control device should be located within 20 feet of the tire wash, unless directed otherwise by the resident engineer. Refer to the project special provisions to learn more about detailed specifications for a tire wash. Water pollution prevention inspections need to be performed routinely in order to evaluate BMP effectiveness and implement repairs or design changes as soon as possible. Inspections are most effective when conducted jointly by the contractor and Caltrans inspectors at intervals described in the project special provisions. Inspections are also required during dry weather to ensure proper implementation of BMPs, such as a tire wash, which is not necessarily weather-related. During the rainy season, inspections must be completed by the contractor prior to and after storm events, at 24-hour intervals during extended storm events, or as required in the project special provisions. The project special provisions also require copies of the inspection checklist to be submitted to the resident engineer within 24 hours. Attachment H of the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan and Water Pollution Control Program Preparation Manual must be completed during each inspection. This checklist must be used for all inspections, unless the project special provisions require the contractor to use a different checklist. The contractor's Water Pollution Control Manager completes and signs the inspection form, keeps a copy of the on-site Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, and submits the original completed inspection checklist to the resident engineer within 24 hours. The resident engineer then reviews the contractor's operations for water pollution control compliance and files the inspection form in the Category 20 file at Caltrans. If a specific deficiency is found while performing an inspection, ensure that a corrective action is implemented. If the deficiency is a result of an inadequate BMP, other measures may be initiated to resolve the deficiency and ensure contract compliance. Specifically, check to determine whether the tire wash has been constructed properly, whether the coarse aggregate used is approximately 3 to 6 inches in diameter, and if it was placed onto the geotextile fabric at a depth specified in the project special provisions. Check for proper function of the tire wash as well as any form of damage to its components. If damage is detected, repair it as necessary or as directed by the resident engineer. Check to ensure that there is no tracking of mud or aggregate onto the paved roadway and that sweeping is being performed at an appropriate frequency. Check to determine whether soil and sediment or other materials tracked onto existing pavement are entering drainage facilities. Implement the appropriate BMPs if necessary. Check all roadway ditches and make sure that they are kept clear. Ensure that the runoff from the tire wash is conveyed to a ditch and routed to a sediment control device. Inspect the drainage ditch and determine if it is of sufficient grade, width, and depth to convey the runoff from the wash area to a sediment trapping device. Inspect the sediment control device and ensure that accumulated sediment is removed when the trap storage capacity is 1/3 full. If a sediment control device was not incorporated into the design, make a note on the inspection form, follow up with the contractor, and request an immediate corrective action. If the resident engineer approved the installation of a prefabricated steel plate, check to see if mud has accumulated and needs to be removed. It is the contractor's responsibility to maintain the tire wash on a routine basis. Let's go through some of the typical problems that are encountered at tire washes and the associated maintenance solutions. If the geotextile fabric becomes torn, the contractor must replace the fabric and aggregate. The contractor must also repair blocked or degraded drainage ditches and remove accumulated sediment in the wash rack and sediment trap to maintain system performance and effectiveness. Remember, proper BMP function depends on proper selection, installation, inspection, and maintenance.